Today on this wintry, snowy February 12th, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're ready to learn some math today. Still fighting this cold. I thought I had gotten rid of it, and it's still hanging around, so I'll be drinking a lot of water, and my voice will sound a little raspy, but that is fine. Moving on. First announcement, your test is due Saturday, and the review sheet also. Please get the 5 bonus points. I don't understand why you wouldn't. I'm not being mean, not going to preach a sermon, but please do this. If you don't, it's fine. But test is due Saturday, completely done, all questions asked. I will be emailing a quiz to you on Saturday. It's due Tuesday. No video on Monday. President's Day. No video Monday. Integrity sheets. Be men of integrity. Don't lie on those. Stay caught up. And remember, when you come to my house for the test, they all got to be done. And by the way, they should be done every day right on time. That's just my opinion. Okay, let's get going here. Here we go. We're going to finish up lesson 1.1 today, continuing to look at topics that, for the most part, should be review. We're going to study the distance formula, then the midpoint formula, and lastly, equations of circles. Matthew, that last topic here is probably new to you, equations of circles. We might have covered that in Algebra 2, we might not, I don't remember. And Matt, Caleb, you might have had that in Algebra 2, you might not have, but either way, we'll go over that. The homework assignment is pretty long, and look at this, it's very important. There are some problems in your homework that I don't go over in your notes, different types of problems that you really need to practice. Please do it. Do it well. However, in order to compensate for the longer than usual homework, today's video is short. I'm going to go fast, it's going to be short, but your homework's going to be a little longer than usual, so it's fair. I'm just kind of balancing that out. Your heading today is distance, midpoint, and circle equations. Distance, midpoint, and circle equations. The lesson number is 1.1. The lesson number is 1.1. If you like to write the date down, today is the 12th, as I said earlier. When you're given 2 points on a coordinate plane, there is a formula that gives, should be an S there, that gives you the distance or length, whatever you want to call it. You can call it the distance or length between those 2 points. So if I have a line like this, end point here, and I want to find the distance of that line, there's a formula that does that for me. I will explain where this formula comes from in a couple of minutes. Here is the formula. Please copy this in your notes. The formula is the square root of x minus x quantity squared plus y minus y quantity squared. That is the formula you're going to use to find the distance between 2 points. And that's why we use the letter D here. D stands for distance. Let's apply this formula to a couple of problems on the next page, all right? And then I will show you where this formula comes from. Please copy this in your notes. I want you to find the distance between these 2 points. -2, 2, and 3, -6. Now students, would you please listen to me? You do not need to graph these 2 ordered pairs. Now feel free to, but you don't need to. I'm just doing this because I want you to see what you're doing. You do not have to graph these 2 points in order to do the problem. I just want you to see what you're doing. Now, I'm going to connect these 2 points here the best that I can. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the distance between these 2 points, or in other words, the length of this line. Does that make sense? We're going to find the distance between these 2 points, right here, the distance. Or you could also say we're finding the length of that red line. Now, for the 3rd time or 4th time, you don't need to graph the line like I've done. I'm just doing that so you can see what we're doing. What you do need to do is use the formula. So my formula is x minus x quantity squared plus y minus y quantity squared. All right, so let's use these 2 points. Remember, this is my x, this is my y, this is my x, this is my y. Okay? Now, to be honest with you, it really doesn't matter which x you put first and all of that in this formula. Some formulas it does. This one it does not. So I've got x minus x. Now, students, I'm not trying to rush at all. I'm just saying, look, you've got a calculator, and you're pre-cal students. I mean, I don't think by now I should have to write -2 minus a positive 3, which is what you have. Your first x value is negative 2, and your next x value is 3. At this point in time, and I'm not being grouchy or mean, at this point in time, you should know that a negative 2 plus 3 is a 1. And if you don't, feel free to use a calculator. Y minus y. So 2 minus a negative 6. 2 minus a negative 6 would be 8. Use a calculator if you need to. Now, 1 squared is 1. 8 squared is 64, and 1 plus 64 is 65. So there's your answer, the square root of 65. Now I might ask you to leave your answer like that, or I might ask you to type it into your calculator and round to 1 or 2 decimal places. If you typed into your calculator, you would get 8.06 units. So now you know how long this line is. It's 8.06 units long. Okay? All right. Very good. Moving on to the next problem. You can work ahead or watch me. Now again, you don't need to graph the line. I'm just doing that to try to be a good teacher that gives you a visual aid so you can see what you're doing. Alright? We're going to find the length of this line right here. Alright? So, find the distance or the length between these 2 points. Alright, we use our formula. And we know our formula is x minus x, quantity squared, plus y minus y, quantity squared. All right, here we go. X minus x, negative 1 minus a negative 1 would be 0. Plus y minus y, negative 5 minus 2 would be negative 7 squared. Well, when you square 0, you get a 0. When you square negative 7, you get a 49. 0 plus 49 is the square root of 49, and the square root of 49 is 7. So the length of this line right here, or the distance between these 2 points, is 7. By the way, let's check it and see if I'm right, shall we? Put your pencil here and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 units. The length of that line is 7 units. Now that's easy, guys. There's just not a need for me to give a lot of examples of these. Finding the distance between 2 points requires this formula. Now, the next part I'm going to go over, you do not need to take notes on. You're not going to be tested on it. I want you to very quickly see where the distance formula came from. If I asked you to find the distance between this point and this point, if you drew a right triangle like this, and then you realize the distance from here to here is x minus x, and the distance from here to here is y minus y, and with Pythagorean's theorem, don't you always square a leg? And don't you always square a leg? And if you do that, you get out the hypotenuse squared. Well, basically, if you square this and add it together, and then take the square root of it, that gives you your hypotenuse, which is the same thing as the length of this, which is the same thing as the distance formula. Now, I can teach that a lot better. I'm just not going to because it's not necessary. But what I want you to understand is the distance formula comes from Pythagorean's theorem. Okay? This length right here is x minus x. This length here is y minus y. This is a leg. This is a leg. Square the leg, square the leg, add them together and take the square root of that, and you'll have the hypotenuse or the length of this side. Okay? Now, you do need to know this. There is a formula that gives you the point right in the middle of 2 given points. So if I have a point here and a point here, and I want to find that point right there in the middle, question mark, question mark. There is a formula that does it, and this point in the middle right here is called the midpoint. We call that the midpoint. Here's the formula. Please copy that down. X plus x divided by 2, and then a comma, and then y plus y divided by 2. I will show you where this formula comes from in a couple of minutes. Okay? Let's practice this formula on one problem down below. I'm not being rushed today. I just feel like these are easy and you need to practice in your homework more than you need to listen to me teach, okay? Alright, I want you to find the midpoint between these 2 points. Now again, you do not, in order to solve these, have to graph the line. I'm doing that to give you a visual, okay? So here's the line. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find this point right in the middle right here, and we're going to find out what that point is. It's a number comma a number, okay, this ordered pair right here. And we're going to find that midpoint by using this formula right here. So the formula I'm going to use, this is called the midpoint formula. Let me go over this again. Anytime you're given 2 points and I ask you to find the point right in the middle, that's called the midpoint use the midpoint formula. So this is my x, this is my x. I'm not going to do the work for you. You know by now you should be able to add a -4 and a +2. So a -4 plus a +2 is a -2 all over a -2. Do you see where that -2 came from? If not, go back and do your work. X plus x, not minus. The distance formula was minus right here. X minus x, y minus y. The midpoint formula is x plus x and y plus y. Now, this part right here, y plus y, is going to be, let's see, -2 plus 5. And that's going to be 3 over 2. Y plus y is 3. Now let's simplify this and we're done. -2 over 2 is -1. 3 over 2 is 1.5. So this is the ordered pair that falls right in the middle between these two ordered pairs. And let's check and see if it makes sense. Isn't that point right there almost right at -1? Yes, it is. Isn't it almost at 1.5 going up? Yes, it is. This is a very strong suggestion that my answer is right. It falls right here in the middle. Okay? Again, you don't have to graph these problems to do them, but I wanted you to see it with your eyes so that you knew what we were doing. All right? Now, lastly, let's take a look at equations of circles. All right? Equations of circles. Here is the model. X minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Now, h and k give you the center of the circle. So if you were to graph the circle, now you have an ordered pair that tells you where the center is. And you get that center from h and k. They're going to be numbers. R is your radius. So this number right here that has a power of 2, this number right here, your r, will always be your radius. Now, in case you're a little confused, let me say something here. The above model can be pretty confusing, but I wanted you to see it so that you would be exposed to it. So when you get to college one day and you see this, you're not like, wow, I've never seen that before. It's important that you see that model. But it's my job as a teacher to explain what it means. So now I'm going to take this model and I'm going to break it down very simply so that you'll understand what it means and how it works. So here we go. Copy this equation in your notes. X plus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 5 quantity squared equals 16. Now, first of all, after you've copied that down, and remember, I go fast. You're supposed to pause the video a lot. That's very normal. You can always slow me down, but you can't speed me up, so I'm going to go fast. The center of this circle, and by the way, you know it's a circle equation because you got x and a number quantity squared, y and a number quantity squared, then you've got a plus sign here, and then a whole number over here. So it is a circle equation. The center of this circle would be -2, +5. See this +2? Always change the sign of this number. Always, Mr. Earhart? Always. And that's how you get a -2. See this -5 right here? Always change the sign of that number. Always, Mr. Earhart? Always. So there's the center of your circle. Why do you change the signs, Mr. Earhart? Because of these negative signs right here, right there. In other words, if I have a +2, that's the same thing as x minus a -2. So h is a -2. If you have a -5 right here, that's the same thing as y minus a +5. So k is a +5. Now you might have understood what I just said there. You might not have. Either way is fine. One thing you can all do is remember this. Always change the sign of this number and always change the sign of that number to get your center. Easy enough. Now, the radius for this equation is 4. Now, how did I get that? Well, you always want to write this number here with a power of 2. Okay, so how would I write 16 with a power of 2? Well, that's easy. 16 is a perfect square, right? So isn't 4 squared the same thing as 16? Sure it is. So always write this number so that it has a power of 2, so that it looks like this right here. After you've rewritten this side with a power of 2, then whatever the base is, that's always your radius. So, did I have a 16? Yes. Did it have a power of 2? No. So I rewrote it so that it had a power of 2. And after I rewrote it with a power of 2, this number here, this 4, is your base. And so it's also your radius. Okay, let's try that on this problem over here and see if you can figure it out. Let's go ahead and write down the center of the circle for this equation. Well, the center is going to be a +4 and a -3. So if you were to graph this circle, the center would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So you'd put your dot right here. All right. Now, let me go ahead and back this up here. So there, you found the center. I changed the sign of this number. I changed the sign of that number. Now, let's take a look at 10. Oh, ho, ho. 10's not a perfect square. 16 over here was easy. 16 is a perfect square, and we know that 16 equaled 4 squared. However, 10 is not a perfect square. So I have a question for you. Would you please take this and type it into your calculator, please? I want you to take the square root of 10 squared and see what you get. Go ahead and do that, please. Square root of 10 squared. And when you type that in, what are you getting out? 10. So the square root of 10 squared equals 10. Let me say that again. The square root of 10 squared equals 10. So what can I put for 10? If they're equal, I can substitute. I can take the 10 out, and in place of it, I could put this right here. And booyah, look at that. I rewrote 10 with the power of 2. There we go. I did it. I rewrote 10 with the power of 2. And now that I've rewrote 10, I have rewritten the power of 10, or 10 with the power of 2. Now I know what the radius is. Remember, once you rewrite this side with the power of 2, the radius is always the base. So the radius would be the square root of 10. Now, let's practice a couple of those. Is it easy to write 25 with the power of 2? Sure it is. You would write what? 5 squared. But how about 17? Can you rewrite 17 with the power of 2? You should be able to. You take the square root of 17, put parentheses around it, and square it. And the square root of 17 squared is 17. Okay? So there we go. It's just that simple, and that's what this formula means. Okay? So with that in mind, we're going to do 2 problems, 1, 2, and then I'm going to give your homework to you. All right, let me grab a quick drink of water. Go ahead and copy this problem down. We're going to find an equation of the circle with a radius of 5 and a center at 3, -7. Now, would you please listen to me carefully? Anytime from now on the rest of the year, I ask you to write the equation of a circle, you need 2 things. If you can find these 2 things, you're home free. You have to know the center and you have to know the radius. Sometimes I won't give those to you. In your homework tonight, you're going to have to find some of those, okay? But in this problem, I gave them to you. Here's the center right here, and here's the radius right here. So since we know those 2 things, we're ready to write our equation. Remember, you change the signs of these numbers. So if I have a positive 3 right here for my center, that means in the original equation, I must have had x minus 3 squared. If this is a positive 3, the original equation must have been a negative 3. Then you always put a plus sign, and then if you have a negative 7 right here, then obviously in the original equation it must have been a positive 7 squared. And then if your radius is 5, remember how the radius is always written with the power of 2? So I take my 5 and I write it with the power of 2. It's that easy. So you just wrote the equation of a circle once you were given the center and once you were given the radius. It's that easy. You change the signs of these numbers, put them back into the equation. The x number always goes with the x in parentheses. The y number always goes with the y in parentheses. Notice I changed their signs. And then the radius always is written with the power of 2. Always, always. Okay? All right, let's continue on to our last problem. I told you it'd be a short video, and then you can get started on your homework. On this last problem here, we're going to graph the circle. Now, to be honest with you, you're probably thinking, oh great, plotting points, all this work. No, not at all. It's pretty easy actually. All you have to do is write your center out. So you know your center is -5, +2. We change the sign of this number and change the sign of this number. And then we know our radius is going to be 5, because we want to rewrite this number with a power of 2. And 25 is the same thing as 5 squared. Now that I've rewritten this right side with the power of 2, the base, which is a 5, is going to be my radius. So to graph this circle, it's so easy. You simply go to -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, +2. There's the center of your circle. Isn't that easy? Now if your radius is 5, that means all you have to do is count up 5, count over 5, count down 5, count over 5, and draw your circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. And now hopefully I can use my circle maker here. Not bad. Needs to be made a little bigger there, obviously, but now I know my circle's not perfect and it's not quite touching these points, but I think you get the idea. Technically, the circle should go all the way out to these points. But isn't that easy? You wrote the center, up 5 over 5, down 5 over. Well, Miss Gerard, I got a question. What if my radius was something weird like this, the square root of 10? Then type into your calculator and you'd get out 3 point whatever it is you would get. Let's see. You would get out 3.2. And so from the center, you just go up 1, 2, 3.2. You just estimate. It's no big deal. Okay, and that's it. Now I'm going to talk quickly because the homework assignment is long. These 4 problems here, piece of cake, distance formula. These 8 problems here, piece of cake, midpoint formula. You should whip through those in 10 minutes. I mean that, piece of cake. These are the tough ones. You need to do every single one. There's 12 of them. You need to work hard, okay? You need to watch the video. I would not watch the video until you're done doing every single problem. Then you check the odds in the back of the book and you check the evens with the video. Any of them that you've missed, you then go back and watch the video. That's how I think you should do it. That's my opinion. Now, one more comment. The snow is really, really coming down. I have to get eBay orders out before the roads get bad. So if you watch this video and then you go to check the homework video, if it's not there, I'm usually very good about getting these out in time. You guys know that. This will be one of the few times, due to weather, that I'm going to have to do the homework video a little later today. Right now it's 10:33 in the morning, so I'll probably get the homework video out sometime this afternoon, maybe around, well, I don't know, 12, 1, 2, 3, around in there. Okay? So just keep checking. And I do apologize, but you've at least watched this video. You can at least do the homework and check the odds, and then I'll have the homework video out a little bit later. And again, that's due to weather. Okay. Hope you guys have a good day. Call or email if you have any questions.